Reito is an ugly gooner who's put in a cold sleep after learning he has a terminal disease. However, everything changes when he wakes up in the future and learns he's the only man alive, so he becomes one thrust man and starts repopulating Earth by cracking everyone. Before this, Reito confesses his feelings to his longtime crush, Arisa, because he has contracted a deadly disease called cellular sclerosis. Shocked by the news, Arisa uses Gemini Pro Max and learns the cure will be available in 5 years, and Reito informs her that he'll be placed in a sleeping pod until the cure is available. With tears in her eyes, Arisa runs away to process the information. Reito heads to the hospital with his siblings, where he is about to enter his sleeping pod. Just then, Arisa returns to say goodbye to Reito, and in return, Reito hands Arisa his locket, telling her to look at it if she misses him too much. After saying his goodbyes, Reito enters his pod and is about to lose consciousness when he hears Arisa telling him that she'll wait for him no matter what. Hearing this, Reito smiles in peace, knowing that once he demolishes this disease, he'll get to demolish Arisa's juicy cakes. 5 years later, Reito opens his eyes and is greeted by someone who looks exactly like Arisa, but with bazookas huge enough to slime someone's granny. The woman introduces herself as Mira and informs Reito that he has now been cured. Feeling relieved, Reito asks Mira to take him to his family, but she tells Reito to wait as there's a lot he needs to know first. She then takes him on a ride in a tinted car, where Reito learns that 5 years ago, a deadly disease called the MK virus took over the world and wiped out half of the population. Reito thinks Mira is crapping him until he notices the blank look on her face, which makes him panic. As he dashes out of the car, Reito finds himself surrounded by thirsty MILFs. Catching up, Mira then drops the bomb on Reito. 99% of men have died due to the MK virus, except for 5 special men who survived because they were infected by cellular sclerosis and were in cold sleep when the virus came. While Reito is processing the information, a woman starving for sausage jumps on Reito for some action, but quickly gets knocked out by the guards. Mira then kneels before Reito and tells him that his little Johnny is needed to repopulate the world. Since Reito had never imagined himself becoming the next Genghis Khan, he gets briefed by Mira that the world is run by the United Women's Group, who are working hard to develop a cure. During their research, they found out that a man named Hino was immune to the MK virus because he also had cellular sclerosis. As Reito takes in the information, Mira tells him that he should prepare himself to give back shots to women, but Reito refuses and asks why they're not using artificial means. That's when Mira reveals that they've already tried that and failed. She further adds that Hino has already irrigated a woman's garden and their offspring might just save humanity. Mira then tells Reito that with great D comes even greater responsibility, but when he still refuses to participate, she calls his sister, Ma-Hiru, to convince him. After a tearful reunion, Ma-Hiru takes Reito to meet their brother who also contracted the same disease as him and was put under cold sleep. On the way out, Reito asks Ma-Hiru about Arisa, and she reveals that she went missing 3 years ago. As Reito starts panicking, Mira tells him that it's not uncommon for people to go missing anymore. Reito refuses to believe this and starts calling Arisa in panic. That evening, Mira reports to the higher-ups about Reito's reluctance to smash and ends up getting scolded by them. As a result, she tries to get Reito in the mood by dressing up like a hot mattress actress. Despite Mira's best attempt, Reito refuses to take her to Funky Town, as he only wants to taste Arisa's peach. Sometime later, Reito recalls that the locket he gave Arisa had a tracker, so he gets on his phone and is excited to find the tracker still working. The following morning, Mira takes Reito to a room filled with baddies that are dying to taste his lollipop. However, Reito freaks out and tells Mira that he's a man of God. So, to motivate Reito, Mira tells him that all the men in the sleeping pod, including his brother, will die within a year due to lack of resources, which is why he must use his sausage to create the next Einstein. Desperate to save his brother, Reito tells Mira to give him a month to find Arisa, so he can smash her and give them the offspring they want so badly. Mira agrees, but only on the condition that he spends his nights with different women, so he can be prepared when the time comes. In the meantime, Hino gets oiled up by 2 hotties while he watches a movie, and expresses his desire to crack the lead actress, Rina. Just then, his attendant, Nene, walks in and asks Hino who he would like for the night. While she is listing down all the flavors he can eat, Nene notices Hino's lack of interest and asks him if he would like to play with Rina. Later that night, Hino is greeted by Rina, who appears in the same outfit that she had been wearing in the movie. Dazzled by how hot Rina is in person, Hino brings out his tongue to enjoy the strawberry flavor. The next morning, Reito enjoys a tasty breakfast with Mahiru and Mira, who tells him that they called the world's best chefs just for him. Mira then orders a large meal for herself, which surprises Mahiru, since Mira is built like a hot Barbie doll, even though she eats like prime Nikocado avocado. As Mahiru leaves the table in annoyance, Mira informs Reito that she will assign a dedicated bodyguard and nurse to him, as she wants him to remain safe and sound. She also adds that they will be sleeping in the same room with him, and Reito accepts the protocol, knowing that if something happens to him, Mira will be the one who will face all the consequences. Just as Reito is about to enter his room, he is greeted by Hino and Nene. After a quick introduction, Hino tells Reito that everyone is gossiping about how he hasn't taken out his Titan and caused a rumbling in Ashadi's kitty yet. While Reito is fumbling for a reply, Hino assures him that when he first woke up, he felt just as nervous, since everyone was suddenly pushing him to become one thrust man. Initially, Hino had assumed this was some sort of human experiment or a cruel prank, until he found out that everything was real, and that he really was in heaven. Noticing how happy Hino looks, Reito admits that he's not the same as him, so Hino tells him to quit being a loser and enjoy all the privileges that he is getting. After his conversation with Hino, Reito heads to the bathroom, and while he is showering, he thinks of Arisa and makes a promise to himself that he will only lose his virginity to her. Just then, everything goes dark, making Reito reach for the door, but he ends up grabbing something round and juicy. Just as Reito wonders why his little Johnny is suddenly so excited, the lights come back on, and he finds his hand on a beautiful woman named Akane. Before Reito can react, the woman throws some liquor on herself and French kisses him so deep that Reito practically becomes a French citizen. Just as Akane gets on her knees to lick his lollipop, Reito ends up fainting from all the action. Moments later, Reito wakes up in his bedroom and finds a travel-friendly babe next to him, while Akane is sleeping on the couch. As Soe introduces herself and tells Reito that she will never leave his side, he smiles, assuming she's the nurse Mira was talking about, and Akane must be his new bodyguard. Once Akane wakes up and joins Soe on the bed, Reito finds himself getting sandwiched by two cuties, so he stays up all night to fight the temptation. By morning, Reito is walking around like a zombie, as he searches for Arisa in her old workplace. Mira then asks why he is so confident that Arisa is still alive, and so Reito tells her that he gave a locket to her with a tracker inside it, which is still active. Just then, the sirens start blaring loudly as a bear appears in front of them. Before Soe can get eaten, Reito rescues her, but ends up getting injured in the process. Seeing this, Akane angrily tells Soe to do her job, so she suddenly goes Kung Fu Panda on the bear, leaving Reito completely stunned. It was at this moment that Reito found out Soe was his bodyguard, as she apologizes for not taking care of him. While Reito consoles Soe, Akane rips her plot armor to patch him, revealing that she is the naughty nurse who is going to look after him. Meanwhile, Mira scolds the security in charge for putting Reito's life at risk, even though she swears that everything was in order before their arrival. Eventually, Reito and the girls arrive at Arisa's office, and Reito is shocked to see the devastating condition of the place, while Mira informs him that after Arisa went missing, someone broke into her office and stole all her valuable information. When Reito asks Mira what Arisa was working on, she tells him Arisa was trying to find a way to beat the MK virus, which isn't rare for a researcher. Suddenly, Reito spots an old childhood picture of them together, and recalls the moment Arisa had decided to become a doctor. It was the day when Arisa's dog got an incurable disease, so she vowed to become a doctor and make a cure herself. Amazed by her determination, Reito agreed to help her out, since he had been in love with her from the moment he saw her in her diapers. In the present, Reito asks Mira to give him a head count on the men who are in cold sleep, so Mira tells him that a lot of nations have bad ties with the United Women's Group, so it's hard to give him an accurate number. Reito then tells Mira that if they were to safely get those men out, then they may have a real chance of saving the world. With that said, Reito announces his plan of developing a cure for the MK virus. In a different part of the city, Mahiru is volunteering at an orphanage when she sees her ugly brother on the news, being introduced as another survivor of the virus. Meanwhile, a cloaked woman wearing Reito's locket sees the interview before walking away with her partner. Sometime later, Mahiru scolds Reito for giving that interview, because now everyone knows about his existence, and may come for his hot dog. Mahiru's attention is then diverted by the teddy bear Reito brought from Arisa's lab, and while she's playing with it, she notices a smart ring hidden inside it. Seeing this, Reito instructs Mahiru not to tell anyone about the ring before rushing inside the bathroom. Once he's sure no one will come looking for him, Reito plays a video on the smart ring. Arisa addresses him and reveals that during her investigation of the MK virus, she learned that the virus was man-made, which means someone wants all the men in the world dead. She then warns Reito to stay sharp, because he cannot trust anyone around him. That night, the higher-ups of the United Women's Group gather around to discuss Reito's recent actions. They wonder if Reito is a cinder fellow with a limp noodle since he refuses to touch women, unlike Hino, who has already fertilized 27 women. After praising Nene for her efforts, they express their disappointment with Mira, before collectively agreeing to revive a third man for their evil plans. Meanwhile, Hino lines up all his shotties and Kirkifies their cookie. 5 years ago, a boy named Doi was getting bullied by his classmates for looking like a cheap knockoff of Ken Kaneki. After getting pissed off by the bullies, Doi walked to his class, cursing all the bystanders who only pitied him from afar. On the way, Doi encountered his old friend, who refused to look him in the eye, which made Doi recall how they once used to be friends. Then, one day, Doi saw his friend getting bullied, so he gathered his courage and confronted the bullies. However, from that day onwards, the bullies made it their mission to ruin Doi's life. Later, during his piano class, the president of the Juicy Jugs community, Yuzu, noticed Doi looking sad, so she asked him what was going on, and Doi told her that he had been getting bullied recently. In return, the useless teacher told Doi to cheer up, which made his entire body wince in pain. When Yuzu saw this, she immediately told Doi to get a full-body checkup, since he had been burning with fever. That day, Doi went to the hospital and learned he had contracted cellular sclerosis, which meant he would have to go into cold sleep for 5 years. The next morning, Yuzu delivered the news of his disease to everyone. But when Doi saw nobody giving a crap, he became angry and wondered why all the bad things in life happened to him. Then, on his way out, he spotted his bully and his girlfriend, Erika, cracking in the bushes. Just as the scum busted one out in 5 seconds, he saw Doi staring at them, and kicked him hard where the sun didn't shine. Meanwhile, Erika gave Doi a look of disgust before walking away. That day, as Doi went into his sleeping pod, he hoped the world would be a better place by the time he woke up. 5 years later, Doi opens his eyes and is greeted by a cheerful bimbo named Karen, who introduces herself as his attendant. By the time Doi arrives at his dorm room, Karen has already told him about everything, but she adds that he'll be attending school like before. Doi then asks about his family in America, and Karen truthfully tells him that they have lost contact with other countries. Even though Doi knows he is extremely valuable right now, he still hesitates to face his new classmates. So, after nervously introducing himself, Doi sits at the back and appreciates not having to see his old tormentors. After class, Doi asks Karen if it's sensible to attend school when the whole world is in such chaos. So she tells him that ChatGPT is still not smart enough to run the whole world, and they still need nerds. Eventually, they arrive at the music room, where Doi is greeted by Yuzu, who suddenly embraces him in a hug. After the reunion, Yuzu shyly tells Doi to come see her at night, which takes Doi by surprise. Later, during gym period, Doi sits on the sidelines and watches others have fun. Just then, Karen arrives and takes a seat next to Doi, before introducing him to all the hotties in his class. However, Doi ignores everything and confesses to Karen that he has developed a fear of women because of his past. Karen then reassures him that he is the star of this show, and urges him to get to know all the baddies. That night, Doi enters Yuzu's room, and is amazed by the sight of his hot teacher in a hot dress. As they sit together on the bed, Yuzu nervously asks Doi if she is too old for him, so he quickly assures her that he is into MILFs with huge tomatoes anyway. Flattered by the compliment, Yuzu lets the lights dim some, before grabbing Doi's face for a passionate smooch. At first, Doi wonders if he is dreaming, since all his life he has wrecked his wrist, gooning to such scenarios. But when Yuzu shows him her gold mine, he turns into Doi Sins, and starts cracking her cheeks. The next morning, Doi daydreams about his teacher's Cave of Wonders, and comes to the conclusion that Yuzu must have broken her cucumber, and that's why she jumped on his cucumber. Just then, a chick named Nastu tries to get friendly with Doi by asking him about his Spotify playlist. Just as Doi starts yapping about his favorite girls group, Shunka, the girl sitting in front of him excitedly tells Doi that she has been a long-time fan of them. Eventually, the two start chatting, and Nastu quickly realizes that she's a third wheel, so she pinches Doi before leaving in a huff. After his initial confusion, Doi enjoys his conversation with Shunka, and later on, heads to the gym, where he sees a baddie named Akira devour the court. Just then, a fun-sized girl named Chifuyu notices Doi looking at Akira's massive rack, and gets jealous because she doesn't have anything in the front or the back. She then challenges Akira to a match, but she is about to say no until she sees Doi and accepts the challenge, hoping to impress him. However, during the match, Akira ends up hitting both Chifuyu and Doi in the face, which makes her feel so guilty that she falls to her knees and apologizes profusely, which confuses Doi since he has never been treated so respectfully. A few hours later, Doi is in the music room, playing a room, when Madame Milkers shows up and asks Doi if he regrets eating her Krabby Patties. However, Doi quickly reassures Yuzu that he was happy, as he considers himself a lucky man to sleep with such a beautiful woman like her. Hearing this, Yuzu unbuttons her plot armor and allows Doi to milk her out like a cow. Meanwhile, in her room, Karen reports to her superiors that Doi is finally putting his banana to good use. After the call, Karen looks at the pictures of Hino and Reito before declaring that she won't lose to them, no matter what. The next day, after class, Yuzu pins Doi against the wall and gives him a sloppy toppy so elite that Jiraiya-sensei starts crying tears of happiness after seeing the whole show. By the end of the week, Doi is so obsessed with Yuzu that he just wants to cuddle with her in bed. So after he is done cracking Yuzu for the 10th time, he gets dragged by Karen to go swimming with the other girls. However, when Doi tries to resist, Karen insists that he needs more exercise, but Doi reminds her that he already gets all the cardio by smashing Yuzu's pumpkins. Hearing this, Karen tells Doi that she is the one who pushed Yuzu to make the first move, so he should be grateful to her and follow her orders. Moments later, Doi finds himself surrounded by all the baddies in their swimsuits and wonders how the plot god created such hotties with one hand down his underwear. Soon, a race starts between all the girls for Doi's little fellow, and by the end of the competition, Natsu wins over Akira, much to her disappointment, since she is usually the athletic one. Later that night, Yuzu calls to inform Doi that she won't be coming over because of work. Understanding the situation, Doi tells Yuzu that he will crack her tomorrow, and ends the call. Just then, he hears a knock on the door, and after opening it, he is greeted by Natsu, who casually reveals that she will be staying with him from now on. Before Doi can ask what she means, Karen calls and informs him that the aircon in Natsu's room stopped working, so she has no choice but to stay with him. However, Doi instantly realizes that the swim race was held for the purpose of selecting his new roomie. Since the cat is already out of the bag, Karen tells Doi that every week, a new girl will stay with him, leaving the poor fellow deeply embarrassed. The following morning, Doi wakes up exhausted, and after getting ready for school, he notices that Natsu hasn't gotten ready yet. That's when Natsu shyly reveals that she can't get ready on her own. Surprised by this, Doi wonders if Natsu is special, before agreeing to help her. As Doi starts removing Natsu's clothes, he does his best not to look at her plot hole, because he strongly believes that his heart and banana belong only to Yuzu. Later that day, Doi complains to Karen how hard it is for him to remain loyal to Yuzu when Natsu practically motorboarded his face with her tatas. Karen giggles and simply tells Doi that Natsu comes from a rich family. She then advises Doi to go first base with Natsu, but he ends up spitting water on Karen in shock. While she goes to clean herself, Shunka greets Doi, and he decides to ask her about Natsu's dressing situation. When Shunka confirms everything that Karen had told him, Doi relaxes a little, as he now feels less guilty for seeing Natsu without clothes. A few hours later, Doi calls Yuzu to give her the tea on Natsu. As Yuzu urges Doi to help Natsu, he asks her if he can stop by her room for a quickie, but Yuzu turns him down. Shocked by this, Doi asks her if he did something to offend her, so Yuzu reassures him that she's being visited by Aunt Flo. While Doi blushes in embarrassment, Yuzu tells him to spend this time with other women, but he quickly tells her that she is the only woman he wants. Even though Yuzu is touched by Doi's commitment to her, she tells him to go for it, since she doesn't want her fellow women to die of thirst. After hearing that, Doi wonders if everyone at the school actually likes him, and later that night, while he's trying to sleep, he recalls Natsu getting upset when he didn't pay her enough attention. Just then, Natsu approaches him, revealing that she doesn't want to sleep alone tonight. While they are sharing a bed together, Natsu tells Doi that 5 years ago, her father told her she was going to marry a man 20 years older than her, as that was the only way he could save the family business. Luckily, the MK virus slimed her greedy father and the man she was supposed to marry. Natsu then confesses to Doi that she finds the virus a blessing because now she gets to be with him, a man that she actually loves. With his ego boosted, Doi suddenly kisses Natsu, and she urges him to keep going, so he decides to forget about Yuzu, to fill Natsu like a good old Twinkie. In the meantime, Reito sees a documentary of himself on the television and wonders who would watch this crap over Love Island. That's when Mira reveals that the whole world is watching the documentary and shows him footage of women demanding his love bone after he announced that he is going to find a cure. While sighing, Reito asks Mira if she has seen Mahiru and learns that she has been hanging out at the refugee camp, which is something they should be concerned about, because if people found out Mahiru is the sister of Sausage Man, they may use her as a hostage to blackmail him. Apologizing to her, Reito asks Mira to look after his stupid sister, before heading outside where he is greeted by Hino, who reveals that he is going to be a father soon. As Reito congratulates him, Hino urges him to get laid, because he is depriving all the baddies of his meat when they are not even vegan. In the meantime, Doi wakes up, exhausted after his nighttime fun with Natsu. As he takes a sip of water, Natsu asks him to spit the water in her mouth, and he gladly listens to her. After sharing a nasty kiss that will make the French cry in shame, Natsu tells Doi that she never want to leave his side. A few hours later, Doi visits the music room to tell Yuzu the truth about him and Natsu. However, she stops him from apologizing and tells Doi that this is a communist world, which means his love hammer belongs to everyone. A few hours later, Doi asks Karen to meet with him and reveals that he has figured everything out. He believes all the other men are truly dead and that this school, and all the girls in it, exist solely to keep him happy, because according to his theory, the higher-ups are afraid he might take his own life, which would rob them of the chance to study why he is resistant to the MK virus. While Karen watches with an amused expression, Doi desperately pleads with her to release the girls, promising that he will willingly cooperate with every experiment in exchange. It is then that Karen realizes Doi has misunderstood the situation and believes the girls are being held against their will. So, to clear things up, she brings him back to the classroom and tells the girls to remove their plot armor if they are interested in Doi. In the next second, Doi finds the entire classroom completely plotless, while Karen tells him that none of them are hostages. In fact, they all want to have his white goo, so the next generation can have his immunity. Meanwhile, the higher-ups of the United Women collectively decide to remove Mira from the position of Reito's attendant, since she has failed to produce any results. The next morning, Reito is working in his office to find a cure, but all the roads lead him to dust. Eventually, he gets so frustrated that he decides to go out for a break when he suddenly bumps into a woman whose melons are on display. Upon seeing Reito, the woman freaks out since she hasn't seen an XY chromosome in a while. As she runs off, a mysterious woman watches Reito from the shadows. Later on, Reito is signing some autographs for his sausage-crazy fans when the woman who had been spying on him appears and tells the girls to stay away from Reito because he is a diddler. As the girls quickly clear the area, Reito confronts the woman named Raya for her rude remarks. However, Raya clocks Reito by saying that she saw him earlier trying to get freaky with an innocent woman. Before Reito can explain himself, the cheap copy of Sage walks away. Just then, he gets a call from Mira, telling him that she is no longer his attendant. Hearing this, Reito rushes to meet Mira, but instead, he is greeted by two executives from the United Women's Group, who inform him that Raya and Maria will be his new attendants. They explain to Reito that since he is more famous than Mr. Worldwide Pitbull, he will get two attendants. Maria, being a famous scientist, can help him develop a cure, while Raya, who has specialized in personal affairs, can become his bridge to the outside world. The executives assure Reito that Mira will stay with him as a human factory, which means he can slap his sausage on her kitty whenever he likes. Once they leave, Raya tells Reito that it's his fault that Mira was forced to leave, since her job was to make him the next Genghis Khan. With that, Raya warns Reito that if he refuses to use his pickle, then his freedom will be restricted. Before Reito can complain, Raya walks away to riz Mira by telling her that she looks fantastic. Instead of responding to her flattery, Mira tells Raya to take good care of Reito, which annoys the dyke, as she tells Mira to stop thinking about a man who only sees women as tools. However, Mira coldly states that Reito is not like that before leaving Raya high and dry. Several hours later, Kato is taking a train to Kaimon City as Maria informs him they will be meeting with someone who specializes in the MK virus. As Reito stands up in excitement, he accidentally spills a drink on Maria, causing her to rush towards the bathroom. Feeling guilty, Reito follows Maria, who apologizes for her awkwardness, explaining that she's not used to sudden male exposure. Reito reassures her that it's fine, and tries to make Maria comfortable by asking her questions regarding the origins of the MK virus since she specializes in virology. Maria then reveals that there are many possible theories about how the virus came into existence, which prompts Reito to ask if the virus could be man-made. The thought excites Maria so much that she eagerly opens the door to tell Reito they might find a clue in Kaimon City, since that's where the first patient appeared. Once they have arrived at the resort, Raya strictly tells them all to follow rules, but Akane reminds her that her job is to make Reito comfortable, which she is failing to do. However, when Raya remains stubborn, Akane throws a pillow at her ugly face, which leaves her more annoyed. Later on, Reito enjoys the hot spring when the girls infiltrate the private bath and ask Reito to wash their backs. As always, the virgin tweaks out before finally getting on with the program. After Reito is done washing everyone's back, Akane tells him to give a good scrub to her kitty, but he quickly runs away when the smell of tuna hits his nostrils. The next morning, Reito and the gang meet with a woman called Taniguchi, whose husband was the first victim of the MK virus. However, the old witch refuses to answer their questions since the government left her husband's dead body in pieces. In response, Maria tells Taniguchi the autopsy was necessary since they had to find a cure for the virus. Yet, despite their words, Taniguchi stubbornly tells Reito and his cuddle crew to leave. Once she is finally alone, Taniguchi calls Arisa to inform her that her favorite guy was here, so she should come out of her hiding. The next day, Reito revisits the old hag, who rudely tells him to focus on repopulating the earth. This makes Raya scoff. The old lady tells everyone except Reito to leave, so she can ask him bluntly if he's a Yas Queen type of guy. But Reito quickly clarifies that he's straight and madly in love with a woman, which is why he doesn't want to touch other women. After hearing this, Taniguchi tells Reito to leave her alone, as she suddenly starts missing her husband. That night, Reito soaks in the hot spring, without Raya's permission, while Soui keeps watch. Just then, a couple of outsiders show up, so Reito decides to hide in the steam room until it's safe for him to come out. Just then, a thick blondie enters the room, which freaks him out, so he decides to leave. But the woman addresses Reito by his name and threatens to scream if he steps outside. She then tells Reito that if he can stay in the steam room longer than her, he's free to go. As the challenge begins, the blonde woman introduces herself as Chloe, an exchange student from America who loves Japan, especially Japanese meat. Hearing this, Reito becomes concerned for his dong, as Chloe permits him to crack. However, Reito confidently tells Chloe that he is not into snow bunnies. As the room gets too warm, Chloe ends up fainting, and Reito quickly carries her out, where Chloe suddenly tells him to feed her water using his mouth. When he refuses, Chloe threatens to scream again, so Reito gives in, and is about to kiss her, when Akane, Sawi, and Raya walk in on them. Assuming the worst, they call Reito a traitor for wanting to crack an American, before leaving in anger. The next day, Reito is back at the nursing home, where he tends to Taniguchi, who sends him to buy some buns for her. Once she is alone with Mira, she asks her what she feels for Reito. Mira doesn't hold back and tells Taniguchi that she finds Reito incredibly selfish for wanting to reserve his rooster only for Arisa when the world is on the brink of destruction. By the time Reito returns, Taniguchi asks him if he will ever have offspring with other women. He tells the old lady that even if he does have spawns of his own, it will only be to save humanity, and his heart will always belong to one woman. Pleased by his response, Taniguchi tells Reito to come to her tomorrow, and she will finally give him the answers he had been looking for. However, that night, someone poisons Taniguchi, leaving her in a critical condition. Reito is then handed a photo frame of Taniguchi and her husband, as she had previously instructed a nurse to give the frame to Reito. The next day, Reito, Maria, and Soui arrive at the abandoned hospital where the man-ending pandemic started. Once inside, Soui starts freaking out because she is afraid of encountering evil spirits. However, Reito reassures Soui that if a ghost does appear, he will automatically run away after seeing her ugly face. After several minutes, Reito stops for a break, as Maria admits that they still have no leads on how the outbreak began. Reito then points out a strange detail, that every victim of the virus appeared at the same time across the world, suggesting that the virus may have been made in a lab like the coronavirus. Meanwhile, Hino is busy satisfying his entire harem at once, but midway, he finds himself thinking how bored he is by doing the same thing every day. Back in Kaimon City, Raya is enjoying herself at the hot spring when Akane joins her by saying that she wants to improve their work relations for Reito's sake. However, Raya coldly tells Akane that she doesn't like associating herself with barbarians like her. Ignoring this, Akane tells Raya that she studied Taniguchi's medical records and Apple Watch, and she is certain that the old hag was poisoned by someone. However, Raya dismisses the claim and gets up to leave when Akane corners her to interrogate what she was doing that night. When Raya replies that she was writing a report on Reito for her superiors, Akane turns to leave. But then, Raya asks Akane whether she's worried about Director Kihara, the head of Japan's branch of the United Women's Group, and the mere mention of Kihara's name leaves Akane completely shocked. The next day, Reiya hands Reito the photo frame after a thorough inspection. Just as he wonders why Taniguchi wanted him to have the picture, he notices Arisa's ring reacting to the frame. Just then, they pass by the school made for Doi, and Maria tells Reito that her sister is enrolled in this school. In the meantime, Karen tells Yuzu to get moving, since her job is done, which leaves her deeply sad. Meanwhile, Hino drives around the refugee area to pick up shoddies to crack, which was Nene's grand idea to keep him from getting bored. Once Reito returns to his dorm, he connects the frame with Arisa's ring, which leads him to a document on how the MK virus was developed. He then realizes why Taniguchi wasn't telling him anything when he was surrounded by all the women working for the United Women's Group. So when Reito joins them, he eyes everyone with suspicion, unable to trust them anymore. Elsewhere, a tomboy is about to diddle a girl when she gets electrocuted by Reiya, who then goes on to Riz the cutie before telling her that she needs a favor from her. Meanwhile, Reito realizes that he would need help from other researchers to develop a cure, so he asks Maria why there hasn't been any development in creating a vaccine for the virus. Maria suddenly gets defensive, as she tells Reito that she wants to research further on it, but the higher-ups won't allow her to do it. Before they can continue the conversation, Nene and Reiya tell him that Hino wants to do the deed with Mahiru. However, Mahiru instantly rejects the idea, while Reito tells the attendants that Mahiru still watches Cocomelon, which means she's not ready to have a spawn of her own. Reiya adds that non-consensual smashing is against the rules, so Mahiru has all the rights to say no to Hino. However, when Nene insists too much, Reito directly goes to Hino to reject him on Mahiru's behalf. Devastated by it, Hino tells Reito that he has fallen in love with Mahiru and just wants to have a conversation with her. While Reito eventually agrees, elsewhere, Director Kihara gathers her trusted people to discuss the problem of the riots caused by the refugees. Reiya then suggests they use Reito to distribute rations among the groups, since he's well loved by the masses. Speaking of which, Reito finds himself cornered by Maria and Akane in the shower, as they tell him they are being watched, so they must talk to him like this. Akane then tells Reito that they're aware he has confidential information on the MK virus, and warns him to be careful, since a lot of talented virologists who snooped around have disappeared. A few minutes later, Reiya enters Mira's room and goes full Ellen DeGeneres on her, but when Mira tells her to get off, Reiya promises that she'll make her forget Reito. The next day, Reito meets with Akane and Maria in an abandoned building where they've created a secret lab to look into the virus in secrecy. Before Reito leaves, Akane tells him not to trust Reiya or the directors of the United Women. Later on, Reito distributes the rations to the poor women, while a sniper is stationed to Kirkify him, but before she's successful, Reiya's lover intercepts her. After that, she calls Reiya and informs her that the sniper is dead, before asking her if she's in love with Reito. Reiya clarifies that she's only looking after Reito because she knows Mira will get sad if something happens to that clown. Later that day, Reito takes Mahiru to have lunch with Hino, who tries his best to riz her up. However, Mahiru is disgusted by his ugly face and walks away, leaving Hino high and dry. Sometime later, Reito goes back to the secret lab where Maria tells him that they've been able to access confidential information because she hacked into an underground network. When Reito praises Maria for being a hacker, she informs him that her friend from America taught her those skills. Just then, Akane enters the lab wearing a zombie mask and scares the living daylights out of Sawi before getting down to business. As the gang starts researching, Maria lets out a surprise scream as she tells Reito she found out her friend from America is actually hospitalized in Keimon City. After doing some more digging, she reveals that all the women who were supposed to be in America are kept in the same abandoned hospital where Taniguchi's husband was sent to when he contracted the MK virus. Reito then tells the girls that he thinks the virus was made in the hospital. Meanwhile, Hino takes out his frustration on his harem, as he is still bummed about Mahiru's rejection. Later that night, Doi finds himself restless in bed, unable to forget that the school was made just so he could take his doggy out of his pants. Just then, Natsu wakes up, telling Doi that she wants to crack one more time before he gets a new roomie. As she kisses Doi, he pulls back and tells Natsu he's not in the mood, and leaves her in tears. Outside, Doi encounters Karen, who tells him that he cannot go outside. This further frustrates the nerd, so he asks Karen if he will ever be allowed to go outside. She playfully tells Doi that they should lock him in a cage since his love bone is way too precious for humanity, before assuring him that he's after his graduation. However, Doi knows that Karen is lying to him, because the very next day, she holds a lucky draw for Doi's trouser snake. Seeing everyone compete for his body, Doi can't help but feel like an object when a bimbo with big cow udders declares that she is the winner. When Doi finds out that Yanagi is going to be his roomie, he freaks out, because he's not into plastic Barbie dolls like her. Later that day, while Doi is in the washroom, Yanagi corners him and tries to ride his magic carpet. However, her ugly face reminds Doi of his bullies, so he pushes her away and runs off to his favorite hiding spot. While he's thinking about the old painful times, Shunka enters the room and asks Doi to sit down with her. She then tells him that she noticed his scars during the swimming class, and Doi confesses that he was bullied pretty hard. Just thinking about it makes him cry, and seeing this, Shunka unbuttons her shirt, revealing her own scars. She tells Doi she was also a victim in her old school, but luckily she got to make friends here. When Doi finds out that Shunka also uses this room as her escape, he realizes they are a lot more similar than he had thought. Shunka then tells Doi she wants to see his scars, but it ends with them locking lips, as Shunka encourages Doi to kiss her special spot. As Doi starts eating the kitty, Shunka tells him that she's very happy because she's about to reach O-Town. After a passionate session, Doi takes Shunka to her room, but Yanagi is already waiting for him there. So when she sees Shunka with Doi, she instantly throws a tantrum, accusing Doi of going behind her back when he was supposed to be piping her. Soon, a fight starts between Shunka and Yanagi over Doi, as both girls claim to love him to death. After seeing their ugly sides, Doi runs away outside and starts missing mommy Yuzu. When he tries to call her and it goes straight to voicemail, Doi wonders if Yuzu is avoiding him because he's cracking other shawties on the side. Just then, Akira walks up to him and asks how he's doing, which suddenly gets Doi excited as his eyes land on Akira's landmines. Doi then recalls that Karen once told him that all the girls like him, so he jokingly asks Akira to lift up her shirt. Without hesitation, Akira reveals her golden globes, and Doi wonders if this is how Messi felt when he won the World Cup. After playing with them a little, Doi suddenly realizes he's acting like a jerk, so he apologizes to Akira and runs away, leaving her turned on like a car with no driver. The next day, Doi apologizes to Akira for what he did to her, and she tells him to make it up to her by cleaning the equipment room with her. However, once they are inside, Akira locks the door, ties Doi up, and takes a seat on him like he's an IKEA chair. While Doi is surprised by Akira's sudden interest in him, she reveals that she has been crushing on him ever since she saw him, and now she can't wait anymore. After 5 seconds of fun, Akira apologizes to Doi, but he remains quiet since he's too embarrassed to speak. The next day, Karen informs Doi and the girls that he'll be eating one baddie a day to keep the doctor away. Before Doi can argue, she reveals that Yanagi will be his first and forces him to kiss her. However, after the smooch, Doi feels so flustered that he tries to escape, but ends up falling and bruising his hand. Karen immediately sends Doi to the infirmary and puts Natsu, Akira, and Shunka in charge of taking care of his needs. After a solid group project with the girls, Doi is on the way to his room when he finds Chifuyu cooking a love potion that'll make him fall for her. Amused by this, he asks why she likes him, and Chifuyu reveals that it's because he's cute, smart, and caring. Doi feels touched by Chifuyu's answer, so he gives her a peck on the forehead, and she ends up thinking that Doi wants to crack her. However, he quickly tells her that she should grow up a little before he takes her for a drive. While Chifuyu runs off in anger, Doi happily returns to his room when Karen drops the bomb. Yuzu has transferred schools due to family reasons, so he won't be seeing him for the next 2 years. This enrages Doi so much that he crashes out on Karen for taking away the one thing he loved in this world. Instead of reacting to his outburst, Karen simply tells Doi that he'll see Yuzu again someday. However, Doi knows he won't be seeing Yuzu anymore, and that night, Doi loses a piece of himself. The next day, he picks up a random chick from his class and cracks her till she's walking side to side. Just when Doi starts thinking that nothing will surprise or break him, he is introduced to a transfer student named Shion, who he knows very well from his past. 5 years ago, Shion was the hot mamacita that everyone wanted to be with. One day, during lunch break, Doi was getting the usual knuckle sandwich from his bullies when Shion walked in with her friends and decided to have a good time with her gal pals while he was getting bullied in front of her. At present, Doi is on the same roof when Shion runs up to him and acts all sweet. However, Doi ignores her until Shion desperately holds his hand and says she needs his help. Upon hearing this, Doi coldly tells Shion to strip, which leaves her horrified. Luckily, Doi tells her that he was kidding and walks away after telling Shion not to expect anything from him. Hoping to win Doi's heart, Shion later approaches Shunka and Natsu, but when she tries to act friendly with them, they give her the cold shoulder. Akira then tells Shion that she's the new girl and nobody gives a rat's toot about her, since they are already friends with each other. Later in class, Doi finds Shion sitting by herself and asks Karen why she brought her to his harem when she has already hit the wall. Karen then reveals that Shion came here of her own will, since her dreams of being an idol were crushed by the virus. Now, the only way for Shion to make ends meet is by giving him a sloppy toppy, because the directors of United Women's Group will only work with her if she's carrying his offspring. However, Doi doesn't want to touch a woman who's not into him, so Karen tells Doi they should see just how desperate Shion is for his seed. The next day, Shion shows up to classes without her skirt per Karen's instructions, and as a reward, Doi finally kisses her before telling her to come to the rooftop. When she gets there, Doi agrees to talk to the higher-ups to give her a job, on the condition that she lets him inside her valley. Just as Shion agrees, Doi calls a few girls to see his stroke game. At that moment, Shion realizes that Doi is taking his revenge for what happened 5 years ago. After shyly removing her plot armor, Shion gets cracked in 50 different positions, but the only standing ovation she gets is from Doi's sausage. Later in his room, Doi tells Karen that he's probably the only guy who loves going to school. Pleased, Karen urges Doi to give in to his temptations and go completely crazy. Hearing this, Doi asks Karen if he can give her back shots, and after a moment of silence, Karen tells Doi that he's allowed to do anything he wants, so he orders Karen to bring an old friend of his. A few days later, Doi is helping the nurse take measurements of the girls, when in reality, it's for Doi to know who has the biggest cake factory in the school. Later that day, Karen tells Doi that she had to work really hard to fulfill his request, but thanks to the organization's database, they could track the person he wanted. She then leads Doi to the washroom where he sees Erica in chains, cleaning the piss-stained walls. Karen tells Doi that Erica was hired as the new janitor, which amuses Doi, as he tells Erica he's glad to see her. However, Erica doesn't share his enthusiasm, and immediately starts cursing him for what he is doing. Seeing this, Karen gives Erica a warning, and it makes her shudder in fear, as Karen tells Doi that she has already tamed Erica for him to use. With that, Karen walks away, and Doi immediately gets to business by throwing the dirty water on Erica. Enraged by this, Erica tells Doi that if he tries to diddle her, she'll unalive herself in front of him. Doi scoffs and replies to Erica that he doesn't want to use her disgusting body, before dragging her inside a stall where he makes her lick his bruises. While Doi is having fun humiliating Erica, Karen gets praised by director Mary for turning Doi into a harem hokage. She then tells Karen to keep sending her women who are expecting, like Yuzu, but Karen argues that it would be a lot easier if they had a lab closer to the school. Mary reminds Karen that they cannot do so because the headquarters of the United Women are already getting suspicious of their activities. However, she assures Karen that the school is well guarded, so she doesn't need to worry. The next day, Karen announces to all the girls that they aren't trying hard enough, so she's going to propose a new system. Anyone who manages to win Doi's heart will become his wife and will be treated like a queen. So right before class, a new girl named Koyu makes her move by giving Doi the best kiss of his life. Then, during the swim class, Natsu tries to show off her body to Doi, but the stud has already seen it all, so he remains unimpressed by her efforts. So to spice things up, Natsu brings Akira, and together they cut off Doi's trunks before forcing him to hide underwater with them. Once the coast is clear, Doi becomes annoyed, so the girls tell him to punish them for making him mad. With a smirk on his face, Doi becomes Walter White, only he's a better crack lord than him. A few days later, Doi picks a new flower from his garden and takes her to his room, but she instantly freaks out when she sees Erica chained up. Doi then introduces Erica as his ugly pet, before getting down to business with his petite baddie. Later that night, Doi wakes up to find Erica going through a drug withdrawal. Since Doi already knew this, he teases Erica with the medicine by placing it on his tongue and makes her forcefully kiss him. Meanwhile, Ray-To and his trusted friends board a train to Keeman City in hopes of finding clues in the abandoned hospital. Around the same time, Agent Mansfield from the headquarters of United Women's Group is on her way to Japan because Chloe has informed her that Japan is hiding multiple functioning men. When the agents of the Japan branch get the news of Mansfield's arrival, they wonder if she is coming to solve the chaos caused by refugee camps. However, after further discussions, they conclude that the reason cannot be so simple. Yet, despite this, Director Kihara tells her colleagues not to panic since they have all the men in their possession. Meanwhile, Doi enters the class and tries to build a plot with a cute tomboy named Hikaru. However, when he tells her to come to his room, she declines by saying she's a bottle of ketchup these days. Understanding the situation, Doi backs away, while Karen eyes the girl suspiciously. Later that night, Karen learns from Mary that an agent from America will be landing tomorrow. After the call, Karen wonders which party she should join for maximum benefits. Meanwhile, Hikaru rinses her mouth with water multiple times, while Arisa apologizes to her for making her do disgusting things, and assures her that her mission will come to an end soon. Elsewhere, Doi is about to crack Natsu for the night, when she leads him to the girls' bathroom where Shunka and Akira are already waiting for him. Just when things can't get any better for Doi, Yanagi arrives and begs him to give her backshots that sound like gang violence. Doi happily treats Yanagi to a happy hour, and after pleasing everyone, he goes on to spread his love to the other girls in the school, including the hot nurse. The next day, Reito and his gang arrive at the abandoned hospital. As they are exploring the building, Reito wonders why the directors easily gave him permission to come here, but Maria tells him that now is not the time to worry. However, before they start investigating, Akane asks Reito what he feels for Mira, who is head over heels for him. When Reito starts blushing, Akane teases Reito for being a virgin loser, until Sawi angrily defends Reito. So in response, Akane scares her by telling her there's a ghost behind her, which sends Sawi crashing against a wall. Suddenly, the wall crumbles, revealing a huge air duct, and after seeing this, Reito becomes suspicious. Meanwhile, Director Kihara receives the agent from America, whom she believes is Mansfield, but she clarifies that she is Agent Pope, Mansfield's representative. Back at the hospital, Reito and the girls crawl through the air duct and come across a vent that leads them to a hidden facility. When they accidentally land inside it, they are greeted by Director Hope of the Japan faction of United Women. Maria angrily asks Hope what she has done to her friends, but instead of answering her, she tells Reito and his friends they're not going out of here alive. As Reito prepares to die, a group of soldiers show up and assassinate Hope and her subordinates. That's when Chloe appears and reintroduces herself as Mansfield, in charge of the peacekeeping operations. While Reito is shocked to learn this, Chloe casually reveals that she had been keeping an eye on the directors of the Japan faction ever since he made an announcement about finding a cure. Just then, Chloe gets told that a bomb has been activated and urges Reito and his friends to get in her helicopter before it's too late. Moments later, they see the factory going up in flames, and Reito feels disappointed because he could have found a way to cure the MK virus. The next morning, Karen is nowhere to be found, so a war starts between the girls over Doi's lollipop. Fed up with the fighting, Doi lines them up and cracks them one by one, while Karen proudly watches him lose his senses from behind the door. Later that night, Karen catches Shion trying to escape from the escape, as she tells her that she cannot let her go, especially now that Doi has unleashed his inner Jiraiya-sensei. Meanwhile, Director Kihara and her colleagues deny being involved with Director Hope, but Pope clocks them by saying that she already knows about their involvement. Before things get worse for them, Director Kihara calls her soldiers to arrest Pope, but they end up arresting Director Kihara and her group instead, as Pope reveals that Director Shuto had been working with her from the get-go, so she knows all about their illegal activities, such as creating the MK virus, along with many other offenses. Meanwhile, on the helicopter, Chloe informs Reito's group that Director Kihara and her colleagues created the MK virus, which is why they never helped him find a cure. Furthermore, they allowed Reito to make a public appearance because they wanted to spread more chaos in the world, since they knew many groups would start fighting for Reito and his magic mic. While Reito is processing all this, Chloe shows him a picture of Arisa, before revealing she is part of a terrorist organization that opposes United Women's Group. Reito then recalls Arisa, telling him that she feels sad over the conditions of the world, expressing her desire to help people from war-torn areas. Just then, they notice multiple explosions happening at once around Doi's school, and Maria cries out as she tells the gang that her sister is in there. Just then, Chloe informs them that Arisa's organization has kidnapped Doi. Meanwhile, Doi finds himself in a dark room when Yuzu comes and tells him that she misses his elephant trunk. Seconds later, Doi wakes up from his dream and realizes he's in a hospital, as Karen tearfully tells him that the terrorists nearly took him. Before she can talk to him further, Doi's cuddle crew bursts through the door to check up on him. After the heartfelt reunion, Doi meets with Karen on the rooftop, who is surprised to be let outside. That's when Karen shows him the new electrical barrier, revealing that it was installed for his safety. She then asks him why he saved Erika during the explosion. so Doi tells her that it was purely reflex, even though deep down he's a gentleman. Knowing this, Karen tells Doi that he is a good person and asks him to take care of his body. When Doi apologizes to Karen, claiming that he knows he's the only one who can save humanity, Karen tells him that there are 4 other men beside him, even though some of them are still in cold sleep. Doi suddenly freezes up, as he wonders if one of them is his bully, and noticing his reaction, Karen manipulates Doi by telling him that those men are in his way. She then tells Doi he can join her in Tokyo, but he asks her why she's going so far to help him, and that's when Karen reveals her goal of becoming the most powerful woman in the world. However, for that to happen, she will need Doi to become the #1 man in the world, and while Doi agrees to help her, he wonders why she didn't just carry his offspring, since it would most definitely guarantee her success. Karen then reveals that she intends to be a coach rather than a player. As Karen and Doi shake to their new alliance, Hikaru spies on them from afar. After that, she calls Arisa, apologizing for not being able to capture Doi, but Arisa assures Hikaru not to worry and asks her to leave Cayman City immediately. After the call, Arisa joins her group as they prepare to awaken number 4 from his cold sleep. In the meantime, Chloe gathers everyone to inform them about number 4's kidnapping. She reveals that this could have been prevented had the Japan faction told the headquarters they were hiding other men. Raya immediately gets defensive and tells Chloe to watch her filthy mouth, but she ignores her and tells Reito that Arisa is one of the leaders of the organization that took number 4. While Reito is processing the terrible news, Chloe praises him for having self-control, unlike Hino, who cracked anything with a pulse. When Chloe adds that those women Hino cracked were held against their will, Reito objects and says they all wanted Hino's dong. Not wanting to engage further, Chloe promises Reito that she'll protect him, before leaving the room. She then calls her bosses and reassures them that everything is going as they planned, but once the call ends, she starts laughing like a woman who has a secret card up her sleeve. Later on, Chloe enters Hino's room to tell him that he is not allowed to leave his room and is about to take Rina with her, when Hino throws a fit, stating that she cannot control a man. Meanwhile, is in his room, wondering why Arisa became a terrorist, and when he randomly checks her location, it shows him that she's in Japan. Reito is excited to see this, since the tracker kept telling him that her location was out of reach. Just then, Akane enters the room and tells Reito that she wants to talk to him, so he leads her to the bathroom where no one will spy on them. Akane then tells Reito that Kihara and the other directors will be hanged for creating the MK virus, and even though she doesn't like her mother, she would never do such a thing, because when the pandemic slimed her brother, Kihara didn't even have the time to attend her son's funeral, because she was busy helping the country face the virus. Akane also tells Reito that she doesn't trust Chloe, and after hearing everything, Reito comforts Akane before telling her that they should have a conversation with Kihara. Just then, Maria bursts through the door, telling Reito they have an emergency. Turns out, Arisa has gone live, as she tells the whole world that her organization is called Izanami, and their goal is to free the world of the lies told by the United Women's Group. She then shows them number 4, a man called Zen, and says the United Women are hiding many other men with a functioning rooster. Furthermore, she shows them a bunch of discarded satellites that contain a high concentration of the virus, and claims the owner of these machines is now one of the leaders of the United Women, which means the organization deliberately annihilated all men to create a world with only women in it. Moreover, America is trying to create a method that will allow women to procreate without a man, so she urges everyone to protect the men that are alive and hand them over to Izanami. After hearing this, Reito barges into Chloe's office, demanding answers, but she casually tells him that if their goal was to eradicate all men, then he would have been long dead. Reito counters that he's popular, so they might slime him later on. However, Chloe reminds her that all the other men, including Hino, are still safe and sound. Before Reito can argue further, Chloe scares him off by flashing her huge milkers. Later on, she calls her bosses, assuring them that everything is still under control. Meanwhile, Akane meets with her mother, but when she refuses to disclose anything, she tells Reito they should link up with Arisa to learn more. In response, Reito tells her they should continue the conversation in his room, but as they step in, they are greeted by none other than Karen and Doi, who has a complete Chad makeover. Before he meets with Reito, Doi undergoes a body aging process, so he can go from twink to daddy. Once Doi is cooked to perfection, Karen tells him that he will be making girls' cream with just his face. A few hours later, Doi meets with Reito, who is surprised to see number 3 in his room. Maria fearfully tells Karen that it's not allowed for the numbers to meet each other casually, but the sneaky brat lies and says that she is scared of the terrorist organization on the loose. She then asks Reito what Chloe is like, and he admits that he doesn't know much about her, except for the fact that she has a whole milk factory. He also adds that he doesn't know whether to trust Chloe or not, even though she did save his life. Thanking Reito for the information, Karen then tells Maria about her sister, and she immediately runs to meet Chifuyu, who is sitting with Natsu, Akira, and Shunka. After a tearful reunion, Maria learns from the girls that their school was under attack by terrorists, and when they found out there were 4 other men besides Doi, they were left completely shocked. Meanwhile, Doi tells Karen that he found Reito smarter than Hino, who is just a womanizing loser. He then asks Karen if Yuzu is being kept as a hostage by the United Women, but she reassures him that she has sent Yuzu somewhere safe where the United Women won't be able to reach her. However, despite the reassurance, Doi feels uneasy, but Karen ignores this and tells him to get some sleep since they have a meeting with Chloe tomorrow. Meanwhile, Reito calls Mira in his room and tells her to come with him to the shower room, making her think that she's about to get back shots. However, when they arrive, Reito clarifies that he just wants to talk without being spied on. While Mira is disappointed, Reito tells her that he finds it hard to trust anyone, which is why he wants to escape with her, so they can find out what's real. As Reito asks Mira to join him, she wonders why he trusts her blindly, since she could rat him out to Chloe. So Reito tells Mira that he knows she would never backstab him, since she has taken care of him from the beginning. When Reito adds that he still trusts Arisa despite her connection with the terrorist organization, Mira becomes jealous. After quickly discarding her clothes, she forces Reito to crack her, because it's the only way she will go with him. However, when Reito refuses, Mira breaks down crying, as she recalls how she was made solely to be Reito's caretaker, so after getting rejected by him, she feels extremely depressed. When Reito sees Mira crying on her knees, he tries to console her, but it ends up bringing them closer. Just as they are about to kiss, Pope knocks the door down and tells Reito and Mira to get dressed because they're under arrest. On their way to the garage, Pope informs Reito that Akane and Sawi have also been arrested because they are loyal to Reito instead of the organization. Shocked by all this, Reito asks Pope what's going to happen to him, and she reveals that since Izanami are after him, they are taking him to America. Just then, Akane and Sawi intercept Pope and her guards, so in retaliation, Pope holds Mira hostage, threatening to shoot her if they don't stop. Then all of a sudden, Pope is tased down by Reya and Maria as they no longer support the United Women's Group. The next day, news of Reito's disappearance spread through the organization. Noticing the chaos, Karen asks Chloe what's going on, but the sly blonde dodges the question and asks Karen why she's here with Doi. Karen then offers Chloe a deal, and while Chloe finds it interesting, Karen tells her that in return she wants to meet the 3 Magi, the intelligent women who run the United Women. Even though Chloe is shocked that Karen knows about the Magi, she agrees to set up a meeting if Doi maintains a cooperative attitude with them. Karen then tells Chloe that she should be given the position of the National Affairs Director, as she believes that Japan should only be run by a Japanese person. Later that night, Doi lines his favorite shotties and gives them his love rod until they are curling their toes. After finishing up the cardio, Doi meets with Karen, and she realizes that Doi has become emotionless since his aging process. She then tells Doi that Reito has escaped, which doesn't faze him a lot, except he tells Karen that Reito has more balls than he had thought. Meanwhile, Reito arrives at the refugee camp where he's reunited with Mahiru after a long time. Reya then tells Reito that she has a ship prepared for him, and when he thanks her, she tells him she didn't do it for him, and looks at Mira with longing. After arriving at the port, Reya informs Reito that she and Mira won't be going with him, since they have to make sure his brother is safe and sound. As the rest of the gang boards the ship, Reito hugs Mira and promises that he will be back for her, which makes her tear up. After boarding the ship, Reito is greeted by Hikaru, who introduces herself as a member of Izanami before telling him that she will be taking them to Taiwan, where Arisa is waiting. Later on, Reito finds himself thinking about Mira when Mahiru hands him a tablet and walks away in anger since she wants her brother to stay loyal to Arisa. Meanwhile, Reito powers the tablet and gets a call from Hino, who wishes him luck on his journey. He then tells Reito that since he's using an underground network, they don't need to worry about being spied on, and urges Reito to stay in touch with him. After the call, Nene asks Hino if he wanted to leave with Reito, but he tells her that he cannot leave her and his harem behind, which leaves Nene deeply touched. Meanwhile, Chloe punishes Pope for failing to capture Reito, and after that she arrests Mira and Raya for aiding Reito. Raya quickly takes all the blame, hoping to save Mira, but Chloe knows that Raya has it bad for Mira, so she tells her guards to lock them both. With that, Chloe announces her next plan of exterminating all men from the world. At the same time, Karen takes Doi to a bathing room which is filled with new flowers for Doi to pick. He then notices Rina, and wonders what she's doing here, since he is aware that Rina was cracked by Hino. That's when Karen reveals that Chloe has granted him special privileges, that out of all the men, only he can smash chicks. Upon hearing this, Doi becomes excited, announcing that he is truly in heaven. Meanwhile, Reito arrives in Taiwan, where he's finally reunited with Arisa, who tells him that she had been waiting for him. Hearing this, Reito promises Arisa that he'll find a cure and then give her back shots. Do you think Reito will find a cure? Comment muffins, and if you want more anime recaps, like and subscribe.